So hang on, let's see. The screen's being recorded. Can everyone see the screen up there? Brilliant, good stuff. So look, I'll start off myself. I'm a bit of a techie, can't help but tinker and code, but my day-to-day pretty hands-off. So been in the wagering industry for a whole lot, which leads me to my next thing. So I'm going to make today hopefully fun and fast, and a whole lot of context for everyone that's not an OG in the crypto space. But for the people that are, bear with me, I'll move through it quickly so that we can get to it. So getting rich fast, that's why lots of people join the community. And the reality is that, look, there are no sheriffs. There's no second chances with crypto. So yeah, with money that you put in, just make sure that it's money that if it goes to zero, you're comfortable, you're all right. It's not going to hurt you. Don't go sticking it on the credit card and the rest of it. One of the YouTubers out there, he always says, put your big boy pants on. So, if you make some gains, fantastic. If you make some losses, well, it's a great learning experience, but yeah, your coins and your responsibility. So hopefully that sort of sits well and people aren't going to go mortgage their house on this sort of stuff. So I'll start off with, I'll share a GitHub in the chat. How do I get the chat coming back up here? Where is the chat? Where doesn't my chat want to show?
Maybe there's like has it got like a little bubble over the top of it, Anton? I'll try whisper to you and see if it works.
I'll just stop share, and then I know when I stop share, I could definitely do it. Now I've just put up on.
Oh, you accidentally whispered it to me. I'll paste it to everybody.
All right.
There you go.
Everyone, there we go. That's better. So I've just put a whole lot of links in there, just so to give everyone access to what we're looking at. Well, I'll start off with that first link in there, and that's the coin that I went and made as an experiment a few weeks back. I called it Magic Internet Money. The token for it is called Magic, and we can see the contract for Magic up here on what they call BSC scan. I'll take a step back actually. I'll talk about some of the basics. So we've got blockchains, coins, and smart contracts, and for the people that are veterans in this space, that'll all make sense. But just to roughly run over it nice and quick. So things like Bitcoin and Doge and a whole plethora of other coins out there, they're actually a blockchain. They're kind of like the protocol. So if you think about a blockchain, it's purely a ledger. So there's a whole bunch of nodes, and each one of those nodes represents a computer. And it's got a ledger on each one of those, and those ledgers represent transactions of those coins. So Bitcoin or Doge or what have you. And that's what you call the generation 1 blockchains kind of look like. And then a thing called Ethereum came out, and Ethereum's been out for about 7 years now. Bitcoin's been out for about 12 and a half years or so. And one of the interesting things I think with Bitcoin is that, with software systems, we talk about the nines, how much uptime it's got, how much availability. So Bitcoin has actually had 0.00 downtime since it's been going. So 12 years with 0 downtime. So a highly resilient system. So that's pretty amazing. It has been attempted to be hacked a bazillion times a year, no doubt. So far it's resisted all of that. Not to say that the exchanges that have been built on top of it, that Mt. Gox being the most famous one, that has been still being resolved. Now we come to smart contracts. So smart contracts, they're exactly the same as a blockchain, but now not only a ledger is on the blockchain, but code is on the blockchain. This code, it's very similar to C# or Java. So you can actually stick code onto the blockchain. And that was a bit of a breakthrough. So what does that mean is that now instead of just having money transactions, you could start putting code on there. And that code can run, anyone can run it. It's just like an API. So it's an open API. And with that API, you don't need a backend server. So that's the interesting thing about it. So you've got your own API out there and you don't need a server. So that's the interesting thing about it. And so with Ethereum, what people pretty quickly started doing is that they started making their own tokens. So I'll interchange the word coin and token. So if I say token, I mean coin and vice versa. So a token actually is something that's built on the smart contract. And so in Ethereum, people started creating all of these tokens all over the shop. And Ethereum became extremely successful and is running at maximum capacity right now. They've got, interestingly enough, they've got scaling issues. And with that, what happens is every time you want to do a transaction on Ethereum, you pay, and that paying, it's a bit of an auction. So it's become extraordinarily expensive. Now, a company called Binance, who's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest in the crypto space, decided to basically Control-C, Control-V on Ethereum. So Ethereum's all open source on GitHub. They've taken a copy of it and they started running it as a private company, and that's called the Binance Smart Chain. So Binance Smart Chain, they did something because they control it. They control how much it costs. So they set the prices at 1/100th or so of what Ethereum is. So instead of transactions costing $50, now they cost 5 cents. So with that, Binance became very quickly the dominant player in this space. So we're going to be using Binance today purely because it's so cheap. However, the same code that we're going to talk about today runs on Ethereum. It also runs on a couple other things. There's one called Polygon out there. There's a few, I think it'll probably be running on Polkadot when that actually launches. So anything that's running the smart contracts in a programming language called Solidity, which, like I said, it's like C# and Java. So the first step in all of this, and again, a few guys here have had a sneaky peek, is installing Metamask. So Metamask is the Chrome web browser of wallets out there. So get that installed. If for people that want to join in and set up their own coin, what we're going to be doing today is launching one on the testnet. And if you've got some actual BNB coin, we'll launch one for reals on the mainnet of the whole platform as well. But yeah, if you're following along, installing Metamask, it takes a few minutes. So I'll talk about other stuff whilst we're going on. Just so that you've got time to install it and write down all the seed phrase, as they call it. So that's 20 characters, which if you forget or don't write them down, you might not be able to get back to your wallet ever. Righto. For those that have got their Metamask going, I'll get you to start up the next part. And I'll open up some screens here. We've got two steps. We've got the pre-prod and we got prod. So testnet, as the name suggests, is our pre-prod environment, and then the mainnet. So I'll talk about the setting these things up first. So if I go over to my Metamask. So right now I'm on the Ethereum mainnet. So what we're going to be doing is setting up the Binance testnet and the Binance mainnet. And in here you can see that I've got a whole bunch of different networks. So Ropstein, Kovan, Rinkeby, these are all for the Ethereum mainnet, testnets. And why this is that originally when Metamask came out, it was all about Ethereum. Binance pretty much didn't exist then, or at least it was too small to gain any traction. Now that it's out and has gathered so much usage, I think that it's going to start being listed automatically in Metamask purely because it's so popular. So we'll talk about the testnet first. So if I go to custom RPC, hopefully everyone can see that and it's not too small. We want to fill in these same values that we've got for the testnet. So smart chain testnet, this URL here, the ID, the symbol, and then the testnet BSC scan. And then save it on there. So I've already done mine, and that's why it comes up with this Binance Smart Chain testnet up here. So we'll do the same for the mainnet. I'll give everyone a little bit of time to get through that. Whilst you're going through that, I'll show you around the magic token a little bit. Has everyone got all the links from that GitHub? Does anyone need any help? Great.
I'll paste it again in case someone's just recently joined.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Paul. So yeah, this is just to show people around what it looks like once you've actually launched your coin. So this is on the mainnet for Binance Smart Chain. And it talks about the contracts, transaction first, and then the contracts for Magic Internet Money. So there we go. So we got this contract. So contracts basically is an entry in the ledger for the blockchain. And in this case, it's got that little bit of code connected to it, as I mentioned. So when I set this up, I made 21 billion coins. It's completely arbitrary. You can set it to 1 trillion. You can, some people are setting up quadrillions now. It's just a keystroke or two. So adding extra zeros in there. And for those that are interested and want to run one today on the mainnet, everyone can do it on the testnet for absolutely freebies. But on the mainnet, it does cost a tiny little bit. So the transaction fee that it cost came to about $2.24 US. So you've got to have a little bit of BNB inside your wallet on the mainnet if you want to launch to prod. Today, I'll be launching the DevCopCoin to prod. So that everyone, if they want to get involved and get behind it, can share a little bit of it.
Anton, can you just in the chat post those URLs? A couple of people whispered me and asked, just so they could set up their wallets and stuff properly.
Absolutely. That's better. Now I can see my chat. So I'll start with the Metamask. I'll also post some instructions on setting up the testnet and mainnet. So hopefully everyone can see them in the chat there. So the first link was the Chrome extension for Metamask. And then the second one is instructions on setting up the mainnet and testnet. And I'll bring up the MetaMask again just to go over it one more time. So if I go to click on the top where normally when you open this up, it says Ethereum mainnet right at the top of the screen of your MetaMask. And then we're going to custom RPC and adding in these networks by hand. A few of the websites out there, they've got automatic populating of these fields. It can also be a scam, which is unfortunate because anyone populate these fields as such, and they can have their own, because it's all open source, they can set up a blockchain. It might even say Binance, and might even say Ethereum, but the reality is that you're running on someone else's platform that they completely control. So move over to the smart chain testnet. And I'll show you the next part. I'll bring it up. I'll post another link here. Now, for those that have already got their testnet going, we can get some free BNB. So that's the Binance coin on the testnet. So from MetaMask, what we're going to do is grab our wallet's address. So if you click on this account, and it'll copy it to the clipboard for you and put it in. Give me BNB. So this thing's got a bit of a throttle. You can only get one BNB once a day on the testnet. And that should be more than enough for us to have a play around with it. I've just got a question come through about Binance in the US. So Binance is blocked in the US, however, not all of it. So what they've got is Binance.us. They've set up a different company, a different website, and that has the functionality that is being sanctioned within the US, whilst here in Australia, we've got access to all of Binance. And why is that? It's so different countries, they've got different regulations. The US has been fairly strict on blockchain technology, and probably with reason as well. Certainly, it's growing popularity. You know, it's gone from 0 to now there's, you know, I think it was $1 trillion or $1.5 trillion that's people have actually put into the platforms. So the blockchains are starting to get very, very popular. And one of the things about it, of course, is for taxation reasons and even transferring money. Even though the blockchain keeps a complete tally of where the transactions came from and went to, linking those wallet addresses to individuals right now is a little bit tricky. So Binance US, it's got a lot of anti-money laundering and know your customer KYC rules associated with it. So even with Binance here in Australia, when you sign up, you'll have to show a photo of yourself holding up your driver's license or your passport. They might need some secondary backup identification as well, just so that they know how to associate your wallet addresses that you transfer from and into Binance with your name, so that the government's got a bit of a record for that. All right. How are we going? Should we wait a few more minutes, or any issues getting the testnet up and running, or getting some free BNB testnet?
I'm okay, but maybe some other people just chime in where they're up to as well, just to get a bit more consensus.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. For whatever reason, I just can't access any of Binance. It's just says DNS is not resolving for it. So I think my ISP does not like it today.
The ISP's blacklisted them.
Maybe.
So yeah, maybe let's move on.
Yeah, a few 1BNBs have come through. Excellent. And who's still working the process? All right. So yeah, and who keep going. We've the next parts we'll talk about a little bit. There's interestingly enough, we got very little code to get this up and running, and the reason being is that with Ethereum, they've made it super simple to get started. So the first bit is they've made us an IDE on the cloud. So in the browser, they call it Remix. So I'll post that. I'll post the URL. Start looking at a couple smart contracts. So they start off with a couple contracts in here just to show you some sample code of what it might look like. It's actually not that interesting. So I'm just bringing it up to show you what they've got in here. They've got a sample storage contract, a sample owner contract, and a sample ballot. So if you want to do some voting and whatnot. But what is interesting is a product, an open source code base called Open Zeppelin. Now, today we're going to be inheriting from Open Zeppelin's code. So, much like C#, Java, you can inherit from a base class. This thing here called an ERC20 is what we're going to be inheriting from. So ERC20, with Ethereum, what they've done is every time that they've gone and created some new functionality, they've made a standard. So ERC20 is a standard. So they've made a whole bunch of tokens. ERC20 is the main standard that Ethereum uses. And now you might recall Binance Smart Chain and quite frankly, just about all of the other smart contract blockchains, they've copied Ethereum verbatim and then made it their own. So they also use all of the standards that Ethereum use. It means that as a developer, it's super simple to, once you create it on one smart chain, you can then use it on any other smart blockchain protocol out there. So ERC20 is for Ethereum is the base coin out there, or the base protocol class, if you like, out there. And it's got a bunch of standard code in there, Constructor, of course. I'll touch on Constructor because it's one that's particularly interesting. So a constructor in most programming languages gets called every time that you make a new instance of an object. In this case, what we've got is when a coin gets created, this gets called. So only when it gets created on the blockchain. So when we're going to be uploading our code, it'll get called one time. Then there's a whole bunch of public methods. So public, it'll return the name, the symbol. So today we'll be calling it DevCop. The symbol. Now we've got to try and work out what the symbol is going to be called. Maybe Paul or Victor have got some thoughts there. Maybe we can try DC. I don't know. Maybe we can call it Marvel. So yeah, we'll come up with a symbol that we can use. And then there's a whole bunch of other overridable functions that we've got here. This part here is kind of interesting. The decimals. So with Bitcoin, they started off with having 18 decimal places for their coins, and everyone's kind of used that as the standard. So we'll have 18 decimal places for ourselves as well, which is a whole lot of zeros. Yeah, so we can go through some of the others: total supply, balance. Now, and then transfer, allowance. Allowance is a little bit of an interesting one. With the smart contracts, you can authorize smart contracts to use your wallet on your behalf. So normally someone's got to have access to your wallet, your keys, your password or your seed phrases to make any transfers. But you can pre-approve a smart contract to do transactions on your behalf, which we'll come to right, if we get time, we'll come to right at the end. All right, so let's go back to Remix, and we'll just create a new file. So up on the where is it? There's a little create new file icon under the default workspace section, and call it token.sol, so sol for solidity. And I'll post a link to a little bit of code here. And believe it or not, this is all of the code that we need to create a coin. And the reason for that is, I'll start with the second line. The first one's boilerplate stuff, just to work out what version of Solidity we're using. The next line here is importing that ERC20 code that we talked about a moment ago. So we're going to be inheriting from that ERC20, and we're going to make a new contract. So the contract's name itself is not so important. I'll just call it the same thing as before. So let's call it DevCop. DevCop. What do you reckon, Paul? You got a name? DC? Shall we call it DC?
DC, DevCopCoin, I think is fine. DC, yeah.
Right, right.
Or DCC, DevCopCoin.
Victor, what do you reckon?
Yeah, that sounds good. DCC.
DCC it is. Excellent. So yeah, this is kind of it. Amazingly enough, the Ethereum guys and just about everyone in this space is trying to get adoption. And so the approach they've taken is making it super simple. You just inherit from whatever is already there. Not to say that you can't go and override it. You know, for the real observant out there, you might have noticed that there's a whole bunch of virtuals. So everything's overridable. You can change it. So to give you a use case for that, imagine this. Imagine that you've got that transfer function, and it's really does what the tin says. It transfers money from, or coins from, one wallet to another. You can make that bit of code transfer the owner of this contract a small slither of those coins, so that every time someone else makes some money, you get some. Or you could be altruistic and make it donate some coins to charity every time someone does a transaction. So you've got as much flexibility as you can imagine with that sort of thing.
Anton, can you just do one thing? Like just zoom in a couple of bits. Like I have a big screen and it's small, but just zoom in a little bit for us. Thanks. Yeah, that's plenty. Yeah, that's plenty. Thanks.
Yep. Thanks for calling that out. Now, how we're doing? Should I give everyone a few more seconds for this, or should I start pressing buttons?
Looks like we can forge ahead.
Excellent. Yeah. Hopefully pretty simple. So next we're going to actually compile this. So I think for everyone here, there's no need to explain what compiling is. Now, it will give a couple warnings. The constructor, the visibility of it, let's just ignore that one. The other one, this Spdx license identifier, let's touch on it. Not that it's necessary, but basically you can talk about whether your code is open source or whether it's not. And then there's a little bit more boilerplate that you need to include to allow that to be also published on the blockchain so that everyone else can know whether it's open source or not. But because these were just warnings, our code is compiled. So now we get to the fun part. We're actually getting real close to releasing this to the testnet. Now the big part is that the default's up here. So it talks about an environment, and there's a few different things that we can choose here. Today we're going to use injected Web3. So maybe some of the people that are really familiar in this space know about Web3 already. But for the others, Web3 is, firstly, it's a library. So there's a web3.js. Secondly to that, there's a whole bunch of people that are starting to build applications that basically they're pretty close to not having a back-end server. So they've got code on the blockchain, and then which means you don't need a server. And then there's also ways to store data in something that's a little bit like S3 on a thing called the Interplanetary File System, IPFS. So IPFS is like, if you can imagine Napster with that peer-to-peer style of holding and sharing data, but with the functionality of S3. So if you imagine S3 on a peer-to-peer network, so it runs, interestingly, it runs amazingly fast. So you can have an S3 type platform and running without any servers or running without AWS. And then you can have code running without any servers, and that's sitting on the blockchain. So people are starting to develop apps, some fairly sophisticated ones, which I'll show you one of today, on these platforms on Web3 without having any sort of back-end server. They still need a server to host some of the website, however, so that's a little bit interesting. So today, with injected Web3, what it means is that Remix, so this IDE, is going to talk to Metamask. So it's going to talk to Metamask via the web3.js bundle. So just make sure that we're on the testnet. So Smart Chain testnet, just check up there. And just check that you've already grabbed some free BNB on the testnet. So I did one yesterday and just got that 1 BNB today, so it's just under 2. And now we're going to do the interesting bit is we're going to deploy it. Now I'm going to let I'll put Victor and Paul on the spot here. What are we talking about? Do we want to have millions, billions, trillions? How many coins do we want, or do we just want like one per person that's here today? I don't know. It's your call. How many zeros are we going to use?
I think there's like 31 people here. So let's go 31 trillion so that we can get a trillion each.
A trillion each. Okay. I'm going to have to bring up my notepad here. So you might recall that we've got 18 decimal places firstly. So for that, I need, what we're going to be doing is there's this orange button on the left here that says deploy. So this is the final step before it goes to the testnet. And you might have noticed that inside this constructor, there's a function called mint. So mint is like a generate. So we're minting money here. It goes to the sender. So that will be your wallet address. and then the initial supply. So the initial supply is how many we want. So 31 trillion. And we also need the 18 decimal places of zeros. So I'm going to do, that's 9. So that's 18 zeros. Now let's talk about the trillion. So that's a billion. And so anyone, before I go too far, so 1,000 times a billion is a trillion. And then we got the 31. So that's a lot of zeros. If we've got it right or wrong, I'll just post that there. So
maybe make it 31 billions because it's just too many zeros. It's too hard to pay attention to.
It is. It's ludicrous, to be honest. So 31 billion is 3 less. Still a lot. Does that help? I don't know if it does, but let's run with it. Everyone gets a billion. So we got 31 billion coins there. I'll double check one time. Just 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3. That looks pretty good. So that's for the 18 decimal places that we've got. So you don't have to buy one coin. You can buy a fraction of a coin down to 18 decimal places. And then that represents a billion and the 31 of us. So I'll grab that. I'll post it for anyone that is not wanting to type all those zeros themselves. All right. They should have made that text box a little bit longer, I think. All right. So if it all goes well, we're about to deploy. So Metamask is going to pop up. So that's a good sign. In the IDE down at the CLI, it's got creation of ERC20 pending. With Binance, they've actually called those BEP. So instead of ERC. Sorry, with the acronyms, you'll have to look them up yourself, but it's the same thing, same code, same solidity, same everything. And now we've got up here, it's going to cost in fees to actually create this contract, 0.1 Binance coin. So one Binance coin is roughly $400 US. So you can, derive the actual cost if you like. Of course, this is on the testnet, so smart chain testnet. Press and confirm. So there we go, success. So we've got the green tick. And what's happened is that our transaction has gone through. There's the transaction hash. There's my wallet address to the constructor, how much it costs in gas. And now we should have a contract that's up and running. So I'm going to get the contract. Where's the contract? I think it's this guy here. And I'm going, actually, I'll post a couple more links. So we're going to go double check that our transaction went through. How did everyone go with that? Is everyone get a successful outcome from that, or should we check in to see if anything went astray?
Seems like it's all good.
Seen at least one person saying that it's good and a few thumbs up, so that's good to see. All right, so I've got the contract address here. Just looking it up. Let's go have a look.
Is it that contract tab next to transactions? What's in that? Go back one screen. See like down the bottom next to transactions, there's a contract tab. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking for something slightly different that's going to show the name. Certainly got the right contract. Oh, you know, show name. This may be a testnet thing that it's not showing the actual name of the token. What I was expecting to see up here is it actually saying DevCopCoin.
Daniel says that he shows the name, so that's weird.
Interesting. Maybe if you would you post the URL that you've got there, Daniel? Oh, that you already have.
Yep, just did.
Fantastic, thank you. Yeah, there you go. Oh well, I won't dally too much there, but look, good to see that it worked for Daniel. I'm not sure why it wasn't showing up for myself. So let's go to the next step, and you probably for the astute, you might already be aware of what we're going to do next. Now we're going to do it for reals. So this part here, it actually does cost. So the Binance coin on the mainnet does cost money. So about $400 US per Binance coin. Look, you can purchase $5. If you haven't got an on-ramp to getting some of your Aussie dollar into smart contracts, into Binance, I like the Binance.com website. They're really easy to transfer money. They're pretty straightforward. You still got to show your ID and all the rest of it and get approved, but it's pretty straightforward. It's about the most straightforward that I've seen anyway. If you're wanting to do things that where you don't show your ID, it gets a little bit more involved. You can find some mechanisms to do that. KuCoin is one of the bigger places out there that will allow you to do it, but you'll have to have some money somehow getting transferred into their bank account. So they're an overseas entity, so there might be a few little fees associated with that. But they're the ways that you can get in. So have we got many people here that would like to do this on the mainnet? Anyone with Binance, with BNB already in their mainnet wallet? Oh, not too many. That's all right. That's all right. Look, we can have a little chat afterwards, or you can get in contact with me if you'd like a little bit more information about how to load up some real Binance. But yeah, so I've changed over to the Binance Smart Chain on the mainnet. I've got 0.3 BNB in there at the moment. So that's more than enough. I think you might recall it cost 0.01 BNB before just to actually set it up. So yeah, no changes here. Code's the same. Injected Web3 is the same. And now I just press deploy with the same amount. Oh, this one got a little bit cheaper, I think. So this one, 0.005. All right, it's already completed. So let's go have a look at that transaction. I want to be on the mainnet, not on the testnet. So instead of testnet.bsc scan, we'll go to bscan itself. And it's up there. Okay, now for the real test. So with all of these tokens that we're creating, anyone can create one with the same name. And the only thing that differentiates them is that contract address. So everyone can make a Doge if they like and try and get everyone to adopt your Doge instead of the actual Doge. So it becomes a little bit tricky to work out what's real and what's not. For Metamask, it doesn't go and automatically add everyone's coins in because there's tens of thousands of them created every week. But what we can go and do is add our own custom one. So if everyone changes over to the smart chain, the main network, I've called mine Binance Smart Chain. You might have called yours Smart Chain if you were following the instructions. And scroll down to the bottom and add token. Why you no show? I think I have done something wrong.
Is the environment right? Is it every other setting right?
Yeah, no, I've got the same issue that I had before about it not showing with the right, how Daniel's said the actual name of it before, whilst mine is not, which is very curious.
Does that code have to be saved before it runs or something like that? Or,
No.
or Daniel, was it something to do with having too many zeros or something? Did you
Do
do
you
the
need to
same amount of
change
zeros? Solid?
the contract in that drop down to change it to your token? Because so that contract drop down.
Say again, right?
That contract drop down under the value. Yeah, that one. Do you need to change that to your actual?
Oh my God, you are dead right.
Yeah, I have that. I have my own contract. Yep.
Bugger. That was the problem. All right, here we go again. on the mainnet, deploying 31 billion. Actually, I better just check that I'm compiled. DevCop token, that's better. Deploy. Pending. Hallelujah. Let's just check we got the right thing. Let's go have a look. There's the contract. That's much better. Thanks for pointing that out. That had me bamboozled. All right, so I'm going to post the contract address into the chat. And the trick is on Metamask to make sure you're on the mainnet firstly. So on the smart chain mainnet, and add token. And then we just put that address in and it'll pre-populate the rest of the fields there. So the DCC is our token, of course, and 18 decimal places. And as the creator of this token, I've got a nice chunk of them there. Might zoom in, just, can I zoom in on? Don't seem to be able to zoom in on that pop-up. It's just showing up again. Okay, so now we can actually send DCCs to everyone. Has everyone been able to add in their DCC to their MetaMask? Lovely. Victor says yes. A few nods of the head. Excellent, excellent. All right, I might get what I might do is send a whole bunch of these over to Victor or Paul, and they can distribute them to whoever's interested in grabbing them. On Binance, the transaction fees, they still exist. They're pretty low, but it's like, you know, it's around about 10 cents per transaction. So everyone that wants to receive some, you know, Paul or Victor, you know, you'll have to at least have a few dollars of BNB just to be able to do the transactions to everyone around the place. Let's do one. Who would like to receive it? Or should I send half to you, Victor, and half to you, Paul? Or Paul's already got his address in.
Yes, so whoever wants to paste it in, send some to them, and then the leftovers you can keep some, and then me and Victor can keep the rest or whatever. Yeah.
Well, what I might do is we'll do some offline, but I'll just do one transaction now just to show everyone how it goes. So let's send some. This is Paul's address, and we're not feeling very generous, so we'll send him 1 billion. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There we go. So 1 billion coming your way. Yeah, so 0.0004, let's call it, of a BNB, whatever that works out to. And with a little bit of luck, you'll be able to see it on your side. Did that send it? Yeah, sent it. It looks like it's good on my side. Have you received it in your end, Paul?
Yeah, I'm just gonna see if I can upload a screenshot to show everyone. Let me upload the file. There we go. I'm rich.
All right. So it's pretty darn straightforward to getting this stuff out there. I'll just, I think we're kind of going over time, but I'll talk about what the next steps are for anyone that's interested. We can have a good yarn about it. The next steps create. Right now, what we can do is transfer coins in between ourselves. So the general public, this is like a private sale of coins. No one else has got access to them. They can see them on the blockchain. If they type in your contract address, they can see that it exists on Metamask, but the only way for them to get coins is buying it directly from yourself or whoever holds them. So it's not publicly available yet. So it's private distribution. To make it public, we have to create a thing called a liquidity pool. So I'll just touch on that because I find it super interesting. On the share market, everyone's probably been on a trading exchange where you've got buy and sell orders all over the place. Now, picture this. You've got a new share that's got no buyers and no sellers. That's the situation that we're in. So what happens is there's what's called a market maker. Someone actually steps in and says, here's a billion, in our case, here's a billion shares. And also here's an amount of money, let's call it $100. So now you've got both sides of the coin. So this market maker becomes the buyer and seller of your token. Or the share on the share market. And so that's what liquidity pools are all about. So the biggest one by far on Binance Smart Chain has got a cute name. They call it Pancake Swap. And Pancake Swap it's one of these unknowns out there yet from the real world, let's call it. They're doing about $3 billion worth of transactions every day. So they're absolutely enormous how much these guys are doing. But what it allows you to do, I should go in dark mode, shouldn't I? Is to swap between different coins. So let me just get our contract again. So it lets you swap between, again, yeah, it's not going to let me add it. Why not? Oh, there we go. That's better. It lets us become the market makers for our new coin. So it's got lots of warnings up here because people are creating tokens all the time. So you've got to make sure you've got the right contract address. So now we've imported our contract address for Pancake Swap to use. If I try and do a transfer right now, if I was to try and buy some DCC with some actual Binance or with BUSD is the equivalent of US dollars. It's a insufficient liquidity. And that's because there are no market makers for our coin yet. We have to become the market maker. So at this point here, we put in real money. So if we want to put in, say, $100 and we put up a billion DCCs, what will happen is that sets that initial price. So $100 equals a billion coins. So for whatever that works out per coin, it's a very small number, but that's the next steps on this. After that, there's a whole bunch of more startup type situations that you need to go through. So creating incentives for people to use your coin. So there's a mechanism called yield farming. This is a very common way for people to get their coins adopted by people out there. Fundamentals, look, if your coin's got nothing, no functionality, then I kind of ignore them. So things like Doge, they don't do it for me purely because they've got no fundamentals behind them. But things like Doge, they do have a lot of pumpermentals. So people are pumping the crap out of these coins. They're hyping them up like crazy, but behind the scenes, they don't actually do anything. And then doing a real startup, and that's really where you can make some money on this. So I mentioned that I talk about these Web3 applications that have basically got no backend server. So Pancake Swap doing $3 billion worth of turnover every day is a prime example. So everything, all of the functionality that you see on here, so the trading, the liquidity, they do lottery, then a whole bunch of other things. These are all on the smart chain. So they're not running their APIs as such, or they still have some APIs, standard APIs, as we know them, but most of their functionality is in the blockchain. So if you got rid of this whole front end, you could still do the transactions purely on the blockchain. And then the rest of the code that they've got here is just to present a nice front end. Well, thank you so much. I've probably run over time. So I'll open up for any sort of questions that anyone might have. And I'll put a couple more links there, YouTube links that I really enjoy looking at to see how to take this further. So Eat the Blocks on YouTube and Morales Web3.
That was pretty awesome, Anton.
Well, thank you. Not much code, but lots of context.
I think that's what it did. I mean, if it was too complicated in the code, we'd probably all get lost. I mean, I certainly would. So yeah, it was really good. And now I've got like 1 billion coins.
That's it. Well, we'll distribute to other people that have posted their addresses, their wallet addresses. So there's a few there.
I copied out all the wallet addresses so we can backfill that later.
Excellent.
Yeah, any questions, anybody? Well, while people are thinking of some questions, I'll just remind anybody who does do a presentation or lightning talk, we have a free key to a JetBrains product. So I'll send that over to you, Anton. So it's a free key to any of the products in the JetBrains suite.
Thank you very much.
So BD's got a question there.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good question. So look, I think everyone that's releasing a coin, some are doing it for the technology, but let's be honest, most of them are doing it to try and make money. Now, I think this is a longer story, so I don't know how much I'll try and race through it. It's all about trying to come up with something that's got adoptions it's got a use case in my head. It's got some fundamentals. Why should I use this? Why should I need this? If you think of a video game, and you got in-game currency, there's a clear use case for it. You're buying some, you know, skins, or you're buying whatnot in the game, some overpowered weapons. In real life, why would you use it? Why should I pick up anyone's coin? So Ethereum and Binance and quite a few of the successful ones, they've got very clear use cases. You might have noticed that today I needed real Binance coin to be able to do this. So anyone that's building on the Binance smart chain protocol must buy Binance coin. So they've got to somehow get real money into Binance coin or BNB coin to actually do things. The benefits when you get it right are enormous. So you saw Pancake Swap. Pancake Swap didn't exist 6 months ago. So for a company now to be doing $3 billion a day, and they get a fee from every transaction, it's a very small fee, mind you, that's extraordinary. So the space is moving so fast. And here's the astounding thing, is that Pancake Swap got their code from another one that was on Ethereum that was open source called Uniswap. Uniswap was the first one. Uniswap made their product open source. And then when that happened, a whole raft of copycats came out because it was open source. There was, at one stage, it was 2 a week, then it was 2 a day, then it was 2 an hour of clones of this. And so the speed of development in this space is going huge. And so it's, you know, the greed button has been firmly pressed on lots of people. And so that's why so many people are moving into this, they're pioneering this gold rush, so to speak. And so you get it right, you get the fundamentals right, and I believe that you can have a really amazing startup. There's one Australian company that's done extraordinary, Synthetics. They're up in Brisbane. So they're actually making clones of shares. Is that legal? It's hard to say. They haven't been shut down. But at the same time, that's one of the huge success stories in Australia for it. Yeah, and as I say, Pancake Swap, 6 months old. Every time a new blockchain comes through, someone goes and sets this up. The latest one, Quick Swap, which is weeks old, they're also in the same situation. They're not up to billions a day, but they're up to millions a day of turnover. So yeah, it's a bit of a gold rush right now. Will people adopt it in the long run? That's the interesting thing. If we're in a situation where this is like the start of the internet, then yes. If the governments come down and regulate it out of existence, then no. Some countries are very pro-crypto. Australia's really sort of half-half. They're allowing it. They're promoting it as long as you pay your taxes. So why people are doing it, why companies are doing it, it's purely because this is kind of a huge gold rush right now. Lovely.
Awesome. Well, again, yeah, thank you very much, Anton. It was like really informative. We'll make sure we send out the coins to everybody that posted their address in, and if everybody hadn't had it ready at the time, just message me or Anton on the Slack channel. And for those that aren't on the Slack channel, I'll quickly get that link as well. You can join up. Where is it? Join our Slack. So I'll just paste it in there quickly. So yeah, if you want to join the Slack channel, you can go ahead and do that. As always, we always appreciate and look forward to guest speakers and guest presentations. And I think today's was really different. Not what we normally do, but like really interesting. We had a really good turnout. So thanks a lot, Anton. Yeah. And, I think it shows that people are interested because we've got so many people here post 8:30, which typically doesn't happen. Most people sort of have had enough and have rushed off, but I think it's been a really good event. So thanks a lot, Anton.
The overtime, get carried away.
No, no problems at all. I mean, when it's good content, it's easy to go along. So yeah. All right, well, I'm going to end the recording here. Thanks everyone, but feel free to hang around and chat if you want to. Otherwise, I'll end the recording here. Take care.